Okay, folks, good morning. Back again on a sort of a short session. Short set, boy, having trouble with that today. A short session because I've got a game to get to early this morning. Okay, so where did we leave off yesterday? This one's this one's sealed but not based. Okay, cool. And this one we got to the point where we're almost done with it. Let's not install this just yet. I'm not 100% happy with it, and I know what it is. I'm not 100% happy with this either, and I know what it is. In my effort of making it dusty, I brought too much of the mid color onto it, and I feel like it needs to have more of the light on top of it with a smaller brush. So let me tinker. I'm gonna leave that one alone, although I'm not opposed to fixing something that, it doesn't look bad. It's just not what I envisioned. So let me get a brush that I'm going to ruin now. And see if we cannot gently coax this into a look more like I had envisioned. And it looks okay, it's just not what I wanted. So let's go really light here, and there's too much of the mid-grade up here. And maybe it's because I was distracted with other stuff going on, but I was using too big a brush, I think, I just got hurry. Everybody hurries and stuff. And when I was done yesterday, I was kind of like, this is not exactly what I was looking for. In other words, these panel lines up here, they're too much of a mid color, not light enough. This is one of the reasons I am not a fan of washes on vehicles, because I want to control specifically where the color is. And not just wherever it falls. I'm sure we'll be able to get it to a point where I'm a little happier with it. I've said before, I'm not particularly happy when I take shortcuts. There we go. And it was late. I'm not 100%. Not at 100%. Little under the weather. I don't know what it is. I'm still banking it's allergies because it just doesn't feel like any cold I've had before. I don't feel bad. I'm just distracted by symptoms. And I had forgotten to do this on this top antenna. Spend more time painting this than it's ever going to spend time on the playing table. This thing takes fire, it's going to be over with. $100-mile range on these radios, supposedly. So I read. That's not bad. You know, ideally, I want the vehicle to look good close up and then good at 3 feet distance, or, you know, gaming distance. So you got to have the contrast just right. Because if you make things too subtle, they'll look like a blur 3 feet away. I don't want something to look good 3 feet away, and then when you get close to it, you're like, Don't ask me to spell that. Although it's probably H-U, 2 N's and a couple of H's in there. keep this going and end up with a North Africa vehicle. Of course, I wouldn't want to do this for North Africa. I'd want to use different colors. The colors that were intrinsic to the basing. Which would be a little lighter. Jeffrey Smith. Have I solved the basing problems for larger vehicles yet? No, but I did give it some thought. I was thinking of doing MDF, but the problem with doing MDF is the round in corners. I don't want to do something that involves using some kind of a grinding device if I can avoid it, but I may have to do that, go that route. But I was going to have to solve it because those KVs were coming, and then they don't make them anymore. They weren't available, so I didn't get into an issue with that. But ideally, I want a plastic material because it's not warpable, and it's got to be an equivalent thickness. So if you use MDF, it's going to be too thin, I think. So to answer your question, no, I haven't. But I'm sure I'll come up with the right decision when I come up with it. Now let's put this on top of here and see what she kind of looks like together, even though it's going to be inside there. Let me step away from this. I guess it'll work. It's a little too. It's a little dirtier than I wanted it to be, but it'll be fine. The problem is I'm doing the other armored cars. They're probably going to have to be just as dirty, but it's okay. You also can't really get a good gauge for it until you do the sealing on them. And Gennaro, welcome. Long time no see. I did all kinds of Russian vehicles while you were gone. I honestly enjoy doing the Russian vehicles more than the German ones. Something about the green just... They look nice, so... Well, this is going to go to Sealing Land now. And let's see how I get on with this. I know what I'm looking for, except I got to put my glasses on to find it. There it is. Pretty busy on weekends. Are you one of those weekend workers? I don't like doing anything on weekends. Now, can I put some markings there that are noticeable? Well, they won't be noticeable. I don't really want to use a marker, but I think I may have to. All right, we're going to take a marker. Now I'm going to go inside that a little bit. How big's the footprint? It's kind of big. Okay. This is gooey like a cookie. Yep. That's about how big I want each one to be, okay? See how these two. Perfect. Perfect. All right. Where's the other two? Oh man. Nope, regular 5 to 2 work just was occupied with visiting relatives and one work-related conference. Good morning, Marcus. Welcome back. I'm glad I don't have work-related conferences. They have happened, but they're pretty infrequent. Pretty infrequent meaning like, one every 7 years or something like that. I'm sure I'll do a video of our conference coming up in April. Convention. Especially since my duties have been passed on to somebody else. So, like a free man. Not signed up to play anything yet. I'm sure I'll do just fine. Let's see how we did. Excellent. We'll drop a little bit of epoxy and that'll fit in there nicely. Okay. And let's do the same thing on this other side. Let's see how we got on here. Oh, one more. So got your hands on a Bronze Age STL Kickstarters. Probably will start making ancient Hebrew soon. Cool. You know, if I did do 3D printing, I would want to do something that I did it as my job at work, and then I came home and I wouldn't have no issues. But since that's not the case, I don't really want to fool with something. At least that way you can get paid for the frustration of it, not doing the frustration for free. And yeah, I could probably paint the bottom of one of the tires, of all the tires in white, and while it's wet enough, go and print it. But it's not a perfectly smooth surface, so this works pretty well. This is pretty forgiving. I rarely have to touch anything up, but if I do, it's not that big of a deal. Let's make this one a little bit bigger this way. I've seen some pictures of 3D printed stuff that I like up close, and it still shows some lines. So I guess the technology is always going to keep improving. I would hate to get a 3D printer for that reason. Is you know, you get into it, and about 5 years down the road, what you're doing doesn't look that good, but you've already invested time in it and cost. I don't want it to turn to something that you're spending keeping up with the Joneses, always buying something better. And I'm just going to stick to painting. I'll let the pros handle the printing part. Even though there are some aspects that I could find attractive. Certainly if you could like modify files by using some kind of a CAD program. But at the end of the day, we only have a certain amount of time for our hobbies, so you kind of have to pick, well, what am I going to do myself, or what am I going to sub out? So I'm just going to let the 3D printing pros handle that. Marcus, I want to see some pictures of that terrain that you're working on. Patrick Miniature Stalingrad. That stuff scares me into that, how much rubble I'd have to do. You have no printer yourself. Normally ask our local community print person or order from printing studios, depending on if you have models or no. Do you have to pay them up front, or can you at least see the product first before you pay them? I'd hate to have to paint something that I'm just not happy with. Marcus, I don't know if you noticed this because you signed off yesterday as soon as it was happening, but these Plastic Soldier Company vehicles, have some lines on them, almost like they were 3D printed on the fenders. See if I can get this up close. I'm not sure what happened with this, but I've never seen plastic models do this. See if I can get this lighting just right. It's a little noticeable right here, above the fender here, or on the fender. And it's even more noticeable, I think, on this side. See here? It's got some lines on it like it was 3D printed. It's not very noticeable, and it's only there. Yeah, there you go. Should be able to see that really good there on the fender there. I don't know what's up with that. I didn't notice it when I was building it. Yeah, they all have that. Very strange. I could tolerate lines like that from the 3D printer, not more than that. Probably a mold made from a printed model. Aha! Cheating! How do they make the original ones? How do they make the original model kit molds? I'm talking about, 20 years ago when there was no 3D printing. What did they do? I don't know. I have building wise, so in a couple weeks, the girls are going to be gone for about 4 days, and I'm going to hit the buildings hard. I think that's what I'm going to do because it's noisy, like they're big and stuff. And I don't want to work on them just like an hour or so at a time. But building wise, if I remember correctly, I have 3 things of significant size. One of them is, unfortunately, none of them are for the Eastern Front. One of them is I believe they're made by a company called Queen's Hussars. That I got them, 20 years ago. They're all resin, and they're extremely, extremely bulky. One of them is like a farm complex with like a garage or something like that. And it's all like on its own, like a footprint. And the other one is like 2 city blocks that have like 2 buildings on each one. So, I could do like a city fight, but the city fight would only be like on the size of this blue mat, because that's the only footprint I have for the buildings. I wish I didn't have them because they're not the buildings I would get now. I was much more of an impulse buyer back then. And did to use CAD sculpting and probably a 3D printed models for prototype and oh, interesting. Well, I found another 3D printer that made stuff that was pretty interesting this last week. And of course, where are they? Jolly old England. Which, don't get me wrong, I have no problem with buying things from the land of toys. But shipping is just stupid now, shipping is now where you need to combine and make a big order. And I'm not going to order $200 worth of stuff. I'm just not going to. That's just too much money for me to just throw at something. The problem is it's too much money I have to make sure that I don't overbuy and don't do anything with the stuff. So, if I don't mind buying like one building and then, realize that, okay, this is okay. Now, Patrick Miniatures, their shipping's okay. And they're, I think, in Germany. So, I don't know. I'd like, hopefully it'll come back down to where it was before, but never, it won't. nothing's ever like it used to be. So, but I'm not one of those that, hey, let me get an order together with a lot of people, and it just, if I want it bad enough, I'll get it eventually when the time comes. But one company I came across, I forget who it was. They made all these all these Russian buildings, and they're really, really nice. So there's actually quite a few Russian buildings between, and they actually make like a Russian set that comes with like a church. I forget who it is. I followed them on Etsy, and their shipping's pretty expensive, but their stuff looks pretty good. You know, if I'm going to spend my time painting it, I want it to look decent. I need to let that set a little bit anyways. I'll tell you who the company is. You can check out their stuff. Etsy. Etsy. Oh no. Oh, here we go. Yes, view my profile. Why doesn't it show my favorite shops here? Damn it, man. Okay, we got the Patrick Miniatures. Guardian Hobbies. But that's not who it is. I want to do that Guardian Hobbies, some of those French buildings. The problem is I'm not doing Western Front right now. Is it Battle Honor 3D? It might be Battle Honor 3D. Yeah, Battle Honor 3D. Man, they got some crazy stuff on there. Like for Italy, they've got like a peninsular village with freaking basing and everything. That looks freaking awesome. Of course, the problem is that in 20 millimeter, it's 188 freaking dollars. Ships from the United Kingdom. Of course it would. Why would it go somewhere else? Why would it come from anywhere else? And they make it in different scales. This looks awesome. Little village in Italy. Have some British Shermans and stuff like that. Very, very cool. All in time. The whole goal is don't overbuy. Sarissa, are they the ones that are out of business? One of those companies that made those things were out of business. That Italian village looks freaking awesome. And they also make Russian stuff too. So, I don't know. I feel like I need to at least attempt to paint the buildings I have here. Or say, F it. I'm not going to do anything with them. And just move on. And then start off with some other buildings. I do have one building painted. I have to find it. It's painted pretty nicely. It's actually a 15 millimeter building that I use for 20. I use it for like a little barn. It's a happy little yellow French barn. And I got it and it scaled okay for it. So, Foreground. Is Foreground the one that's out of business? I've seen their stuff for sale. They're the ones that make the Stalingrad ruins that they break apart like in half sections, like cracked, isn't it? All right, let's see how we did here. This one goes there, that one goes there, that one goes there, that one goes there. And then on this side, and there might be a little bit of goop I need to add. I'm not worried about that. Okay, the front tire is just poor on this one. There we go. Flex this around a little bit. Well, it already sticks to it now, so that's a good sign. Okay, that one is drying out. And look at all the epoxy we wasted. Yeah, that Battle Honors 3D. Nobody pays me to mention things on here. I don't want them to. Just like if I see something that's garbage, I want to tell you it's garbage. Not like, well, my sponsor didn't sponsoring me. Screw that. I tell it like it is. But this Italian village looks freaking awesome from here. French farmyards. A Danish village. Those buildings look really cool. Here it is, damaged Russian village. Yeah, they make it in damaged and undamaged as well. Select the size, 20 mil. Include the church. Holy crap. There's like pews and stuff in there. I'd be tempted to want to do the buildings undamaged first. It's a lot. If you add the damaged church, it's another $109. Well, this shit better be good. That's what I'm saying. I mean, you're paying this kind of money. Is this like free shipping? Get shipping cost. Oh. Let me go back to the frame of reference here. Let's go to that Italian village. Let's say I just became a millionaire and I don't want to be a millionaire. I just want to do this. I want to do this for Monday through Friday, 8 hours a day. Let's see how much a $188 Italian village costs to send to my zip code. Okay, it's like it's like a set 1751. I've seen 1751 all over the place. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty freaking cool. I'd need more pictures to make sure the buildings come apart. Imagine getting that and the buildings don't come apart. Mother. Sarissa Precision makes that Stalingrad factory as part of an Italy package kit. I have it. Awesome model. Yeah, they make some crazy stuff. Like they make the front of the Reichstag. I saw an article in War Game Soldiers and Strategy where this one guy took an MDF model and pimped it up with all kinds of like damage and extra stuff on there, and I'm like, it looks amazing. It looks better than a real building. There's some really talented folks out there. I hope they're playing games that have a lot of detail, because it makes me shudder to think that these people are adding all this detail to all these vehicles, and then, you know, when you play this game, it's like, okay, odd you hit, even you miss kind of crap. You know, it's like, need to have a game that has detail equivalent to the time that you're putting into the models. Flip a coin to see if you hit kind of thing. I don't want to use the wet palette just to paint these black things on here. Bring that big old thing. So you think, hey, that's a lot of money, $200, right? It's probably a savings considering how much frustration it would cause a person that didn't know what they were doing to print it up themselves. I'd probably need like therapy or something like that. It would cost a lot more than $200. So at the end of the day, is I'm not opposed to getting it when I'm ready to work on it, but I don't have a whole lot of confidence in my building painting ability just yet. So that is not the time to do that sort of thing. Oh, here it is. The axe handles are over here. So I have no interest in doing, unless somebody gave me a 3D printer, hooked it up, showed me how to use it, and when there was a problem, I could call them and they could come fix it. I'm not 3D printing. I also not really excited about having to go through like a middle person, because it reminds me of like when I had to do. I did the first tournament I ran. The in the past, this is the wrong color. U.S. Field Drive is the wrong color. What people were doing is they were collecting money, and they were having a plaque made by a third party. But having to go on my own time and have a plaque made, which I did it once or twice, it was a pain. What do you want on there? And you have to fill out a form. It just it involves too many people in the middle that could drop the ball. And it's like, well, I got to go to the plaque place, and they close at 6, and I got to go after work, and the traffic, and I get there, and the person that took my order wasn't there, and the whole worry about are they going to make it right, and what if something's spelled wrong? It's like, I'll just make the award myself. Wow, checking bet owners. Now, love that French destroyed village. Thanks. You just increased your wish list mountain. Okay, Ekinaru. See you next time. Yeah, there's some amazing stuff on there. Just some amazing stuff, but I got to order like one thing from them. Once I get it down, order one thing, and then get that thing looking to the nines, and then just one little step at a time. If I get too many things, I just know how I am. I would just be overwhelmed. I wouldn't know where to begin. I'd be analysis paralysis, and then I ended up buying this thing I wouldn't do anything with. So, baby steps. Throw $20 at it. And like, okay, let's see what we can do with this $20 item. So the way forward for buildings, for me, buying new ones would be like, go and buy those, the Pegasus Russian houses. Get those things looking like I'm really happy with them. Then move to France. I'll get it, but I know how I am. And I'll be overwhelmed. I'll be afraid of making a mistake. Instead of just jumping in. And you get an analysis paralysis, and then you're afraid to do anything for fear of screwing it up. And then you bought something you're not doing anything with. And then I feel rotten about it. So. And I know because that's happened to me many, many times. my wife has said, hey, you should contact some of these people and paint the stuff for them. And I'm like, the problem with that is I don't want other people dictating what I paint next. You take away my creative freedom, and I hate this hobby. And it's happened to me before. I don't want somebody dictating painting for people. Like, you got to do this and you got to do that next. That's a way to just suck up my creative energy. I got plenty of things to paint right now. I'm in no need. And they already got people painting for them. One of the very first lessons I learned when I was a penniless young person was this guy wanted me to build a Blue Devil destroyer for him. It's a kit that I bet they still make it. I think Lindbergh. It's a Lindbergh kit, and it's damn near 1/72nd scale of a Fletcher class destroyer. If it's not 1/72nd, it's pretty close to it. Might be 1/80th, 1/96, something like that. Things like every bit of 3 foot long. Maybe this wide. Fletcher class destroyer. And he paid me in advance, like $75 or something like that, to build it and paint it for him. And I hated every minute of it, of working on it. You know, it was like I signed up to write a paper for somebody, which I detest writing. And it's because of analysis paralysis. So, I learned my lesson. I will not paint for people. Because it's not worth the man hours and it's not worth the torture. I do this for liberation, not for incarceration. I probably have a machine gun here that doesn't have any dry brushing on there. And like I've mentioned before, I do not like these 20mm cannons in gunmetal. I don't know if the jury's still out on it. Especially the lighter the vehicle, the worse it looks like with a black gun. With a black cannon. It just doesn't look right to me. I think this thing's ready for the, with the airbrush, the clear coating. And I may never be any better at the airbrush than just clear coating, priming and clear coating. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because I like how everything else is turning out. I didn't get an airbrush to replace my paintbrushing skills that I've worked on for, 40 years, almost 40 years. Used to commission a person out of UK. It's interesting because I used to give him creative reign with the painting songs. It was 20mm World War II. Wanted to be surprised. Pleasantly surprised, right? You don't want the other kind of surprise. The other kind of surprise is no good. All right, let me step away from this thing. Oh, I do have one more thing I have to do. And that is drop some Nuln oil into the cavities here. One thing is, a lot of people are defined by what they do for a living. I am not, but I am certainly affected by the conditions that let's see, how can I word this? I am definitely affected by the repetitive conditions that happen every day at work that are frustrating and you can't do anything about and will continue to happen on a daily basis. So those type of things are things I don't want in my life when I'm not at work. Pretty much at any cost. So, there's things that with every job you're going to have to deal with on a daily basis. The problems, they're frustrating, and there's no way to solve them, and they're always going to be there every day. I don't want to do any of those things freely. So one of those things is emails. I hate emailing because people don't read their emails. And there's some people out there that I swear get paid by how many emails they send out. And I'm not just talking about spammers, and I'm being facetious, but, there's a problem that can be solved by an email. Freaking solve it, not keep sending 7 other emails out. Go have a conversation over the phone, come to an agreement, and then send an email to seal the deal so that, several weeks later you can see what the hell you agreed on. Just keep everybody honest, just not not make a legitimate mistake, that you thought that, it was this Tuesday, not the next one, So anything that involves frustrating elements that continue to happen at work forever and ever, I don't want to bring those into my personal life. And emails is one of them. I don't use personal email unless I'm, contacting Michigan Toy Soldier Company to see if they who do have that stuff in stock, but I don't use it for anything. I know many people that don't do anything on a computer when they get home because all they do is on the computer all day long. Well, I don't. I want to use it for something fun. Okay, we'll let that set. Let's put these things away. I don't feel like working on the next vehicle. And I don't feel like signing out either. Because I've got probably half hour here. So what can we do for a half hour? Well, we can look at some Russian figures. Because when I go back to painting infantry, I'm probably going to do the Russians first. These probably need a good sorting. Mixture of battlefield. Perfect. You like that, huh? Let's zoom in a little bit, because these figures deserve a zoom in. So when I was working on my skirmish game, one of the things that were important is I didn't want 2 of the same figure. Now, it was pretty extreme because you could probably handle 2 or 3 of the same guy in, 50. Because they're going to be named differently and so forth. But as you can see, this is poor discipline. This is, let's mount a bunch of guys on pennies and then not work on them. So I'm a lot more disciplined now than I used to be. And filming stuff like this helps a lot because, I have to kind of, I don't want to be jumping all over the place. is probably frustrating for you guys and it'd be frustrating for me. But I would buy all these manufacturers so that there wouldn't be the same repeat figures. And this was back when there weren't really any pictures of the figures online. So you end up getting guys that maybe you're not so proud of when you get them. But one of the ones that were the hardest to get to in the early 2000s were these particular figures. It took forever for me to get them. And then once I got them, I'm like, what's the big deal with them? You know? But these are the old War Games Foundry 20mm guys. And they run a little bit on the large size. They do have repeat figures. I got these off of eBay from somebody. I don't know who. But you got a submachine gunner here. I don't know that they're particularly well cast. They'll probably be fine when they paint, but you got an officer here with a Nagant revolver. And he's a pretty large fellow. He's got a winter coat on. And some prone guys. I've actually got two officers. This is just like a grab bag that I bought from somebody. You incorporate plastics. I've got to paint some plastics up just to see what that's all about. This guy's got like a winter get up. There's a officer of some rank. I got to do a deep dive into my plastics. You know, a lot of these are plastics that I had since I was a kid. So you got a guy laying on the ground with an early war helmet. You see he's got the comb on the top of that helmet, the ridge. He probably goes with this guy. And then probably the nicest, most robust Maxim I have. I have two of these in the crew form. This thing will need to be drilled out, but got a guy that's sitting there and a guy feeding the ammo. Got two of those. So these were extremely difficult to get a hold of back when I was doing World War II 20 years ago. Now they're actually back in production. They're tank crews especially. I've got some German tank crews by these, and they're beautiful figures. They're really beautiful figures. But I got all these. I guess these are sorted okay because they're all in one bag. Soviets. I haven't painted a single one of them. And I will probably paint these each. I'm not going to paint them in sets. You know, I might do like a laying down machine gunner and his assistant or something like that, but I'm not going to paint, 20 guys at a time. That's nonsense for me. That doesn't work. It's cause for burnout. My favorite figures of any manufacturer, even though these are not some of the best ones, they're a little on the boring side. And really what got me into this scale was Combat Miniatures. And I got some of them painted. And they look decent. Except for the basing, which looks shitty. I can't find my Russian ones. Here's an American guy. And this is back when I used to seal in semi-gloss. And we need to get more light in here. All these figures, all I got to do is rebase them. I'm perfectly happy with how they look, and give them a dull coat. Let's see here. Let's use this, and let's zoom in, and then find the camera. There we go. That's not too bad of a representation. I spent probably 4 to 5 hours, maybe 6 hours on each one of these figures. Now the basing's got to go. So I'm going to keep them on there. I'm just going to scrape that stuff up, put the Vallejo things on there, put magnets on the bottom of the penny, move on, and we get Calvin back into service. But I'm really happy with how these guys look. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them. These are the figures that got me into doing 20mm gaming, sculpts by Dave Alsop. Big fan of his style. They remind me of like a bronze statue. Like those bronze statues that you've seen, like of usually at cowboys or something. Not a bronze statue like at a public square, but one you would have like, people would have in their house or something like that. And I love his style. Still stands up after however many years. And this is with semi-gloss on it, so with flat it's going to look even better. So, but they need to be retrofitted so they don't look like, like they're still stuck in 1995, which that's when it was painted. Or 96 or 97, one of those. Pre-internet. One of my least favorite manufacturers, this is particularly a Russian figure, is FAA. I really dislike FAA. And here's why. It's painted around the same time. Look at his face. He just has these huge, massive cheekbones. The rifle is kind of soft. It's almost like two tubes, one on top of each other. And I'll probably rebase them and use them anyways, but I don't think I'm going to paint any more FAAs. And I got quite a few of them. I mean, his bayonet even looks messed up. Definitely looks like it was made out of green stuff. Especially his hands and stuff. How many fingers has he got? Like 8? Where the hell is that? I need a small flashlight. That's what I need. Be able to see these guys. Is this a Russian figure? No. No, they're here somewhere. I moved them from my table because they were in the way when I cleaned this area up last weekend. So, but anyhow, this is how I get in a mess. Let's put them back where it was. But that's how the rules work. Is that you've got all your guys, and then they all have a name, and then you have a token or a chit or something like that. I'm going to use these tokens here that already come pre-made. I got these from eBay. I'm going to write the guy's name on them. I used to use poker chips, but you make a hell of a lot of noise with the poker chips. You've got to write the guy's name on there. So that's, whoever that guy was, like Calvin. And you have 2 chips that say Calvin on them. And you go and you have them in a big bag, like a big Crown Royal bag, and you pull out whose turn it is. And that's who gets to act. And then when you've acted, you pull that chit out. So forth. So it's random activation. And it moves slow, but it's not made for you to command a freaking company. You'll see these games like, it's a 1-to-1 scale game, and you're commanding like a company, like you're moving that many individual people. You're making decisions that a company commander wouldn't be making. So you really need to be running about a squad, maybe even half a squad per person. And that's the kind of games that I like. If you want to do something that's operational, this isn't the rule set for you. But these are combat miniatures, all done by Dave Alsop. These happen to be the Soviets that I have left to do. And unfortunately, they're old school metal, meaning sometimes the rifles, like this one, breaks off. The front of this rifle's broken off with this guy with a grenade. But what I like about them is they're all different. They're, oh, this is an FAA bastard. You better get out of here. You're gonna get shunned. Everyone has different equipment. It's not like the SHQ where everybody has exact same packs on them. They generally have different stuff. Like this one has. This is a rifleman, right? So he's got a big pack there by his slung across his back. And what's he got over here? So he's got some other little thing. Of course, they carry some of their things wrapped up in a greatcoat. These almost all have greatcoats on them. But then this guy over here, the same type of rifleman, he just has a canteen. And that's all he has. And then this guy over here, this guy's got a big pack. And then this officer, he's got a big pack and a shovel. So they're all slightly different from each other. The Germans even more so. This one's got a small pack over here on the side. So it makes them individual, you know. This guy just has a canteen on him. The pack actually came with two guys that are the same pose. What I did was I bought one pack of everything that they made. So that's the combat miniatures. They're not the best combat miniatures because the Germans really have a ton of personality. And the Brits do too. And the Americans do as well. The Soviets are a little bit more like hordes of stuff. Alright, we did them. What's this? These are the dogs called FAA. You just recognize this guy? He's that pose from the cover of Cross of Iron, the game. Again, he's got that same cheekbone face. It almost looks like olive oil or something like that. That's really a weird looking. Here's another dolt. Look at his rifle. It's like two tubes. You know, you got the barrel, it's a tube. And you've got the wood for it that looks like a tube that it's sitting on. It's just like, I don't want to paint this guy. It's just not worth my time. You know, here's a submachine gunner. Just uninspiring type poses. And every one of these is that same way. Screw that noise. And these are my scouts, and half of these guys are FAA, and half. See, I put them on pennies, like I was gonna work on them next, and never did. Half of these are FAA, and half of them are Battlefield. SHQ guys. These all have exactly the same pack. They all look like the same person in slightly different poses. Not a fan. You know, this pose is slightly different. I think I got these guys because they've got semi-automatic rifles. And I needed some. They all have the same pack in the same place. They look very wooden. Here's another one, slightly different. Their later wars, they've got the shoulder boards on there. Would they paint up okay? Yeah, maybe. Am I dying to paint them? Hell no. This guy actually got a paper shot. And they're a little bit more true to scale. These are like 1/76. They run a little smaller. They're less heroic looking. They're just not very exciting. Then we get into the cool ones. You know what's gonna leave them for last. I'm just gonna go right out and say I'm gonna call these Battlefield, even though some of them might be Drew's Militia. It's all the same sculptor-ish. I know that there's multiple sculptors that did the Battlefield stuff. Some sculpts are better than others, but the really good ones are inspirational to paint. Man, look at all that money. I remember my dad he'd say to me, it's like, man, you're wasting a lot of money on basing. I'm like, it's a penny, Dad. If you buy a base, it's going to cost you at least 20 cents. So they started off as Drew's Militia, and you had guys that looked like this guy. This is a set like a Battle for Berlin Soviets. This guy's got a semi-automatic rifle. He's got the shoulder boards from like 43 on. He's a late war Soviet figure. Looks pretty decent. This is the first ones that I came across from this particular manufacturer. Let's see if we can do about that far up. Let's use this. I'm enjoying doing this, otherwise I wouldn't do this. Here's another guy from the first set they came up with. There we go. Semi-automatic rifle. They're not bad. Every one of them's different. And the latest set I had from them is the Stalingrad range. There's some insane, awesome figures in here. Just awesome, folks. Look at this sniper. He's got like a woolen hat on. He's got his rifle that's covered in cloth, so won't do any reflecting off stuff. Really great looking figure. And like that, there are a ton of them. The snipers actually are incredible. I've got 4 or 5 of them. Not more than a single one of them. And these guys are all out of production now. What the hell's my other snipers? Here's another one. Look at this badass. You know, how can you not paint these guys and not give them a name? They all look different. They look totally different from each other. This guy's not a sniper, but he's cool. He's a rifleman. You know, he's got the... Is it a bandage? Might be a bandage on his head. So there's definitely some wounded guys. I mean, these guys are going to look incredible. And I'm not doing all the work. The freaking sculptor's doing all the work. I'm just painting by numbers. I know, it's easy. It's easy for him. It's probably just as easy for him to do the sculpting, to be honest with you. That's just 3 of the snipers. Well, that's just 2 of the snipers. I got a couple more in here, but they're all just all thrown together. Then sometimes some figures are so cool. Commissar? I've never painted a Commissar before. Well, shit. I got some guys that aren't fun at parties. Oh yeah, here's another sniper. Ooh, a lady sniper. Olga. Maybe we'll give her a first name. Nothing like shooting your own guys in the back. Hey, it makes for a good movie. You know? Movie wargaming. Here's a guy I've already named, even though I've never painted him. This guy's going to be Colonel Kornilov. Whenever I get around to painting him. He's been named for 20 years. I've just never painted him. Just tons and tons and tons of really cool figures. This is another late war guy. Look at him. Got an assault. Got his semi-automatic SVT. This is some of the earlier sculpts where their faces looked a little bit more like SHQ. Guy with a great coat. Just really, really, really cool stuff on here. Got some officers. That guy looks like NKVD. Because he comes with some firing squad guys. Oh, look at it. Here's another commissar. This guy's got a bullhorn. What an asshole. It's got to get painted. All kinds of stuff. Here's another guy with puttees. The leg wrap things. And a long jacket. And every one of these is different. Oh, here's another badass sniper. Look at this bastard. Look at the sculpting on this guy. So not only is the rifle wrapped, there's a wrap that's dangling off the rifle. And he's got his helmet underneath his smock. Really cool stuff. He's part of that firing squad guy. How thoughtful, they made him blindfold. Here's a machine gunner with a DP machine gun. He means business. And then, of course, let there be flags. Got 3 or 4 guys with flag bearers. Here's a useless figure. This guy's got like an engineer with like a Bangalore torpedo. I'm not going to bend it back because it'll end up getting messed up. But he's got a Pepe Shaw on there. We could use him as a regular engineer Pepe Shaw guy, but here's another flag bearer. I think there's one more. I feel like there's one more. Anyhow, there's some awesome figures here. All which they don't make anymore. Here's the other flight guy. They shall not pass, or some other bullshit communist crap. Anyhow. Guy's throwing a grenade. Action pose. You know, these are exciting Soviets. And look at this guy. This guy's got like, he's got another one of the a magazine pouch for the Pepe Shah, and that's it. So he's got 71 times 2, 142 rounds, and that's it. Anyhow, great stuff, man. I love these figures. And I've only painted a mortar crew of them. Guy with an anti-tank rifle. Maybe this guy's Colonel Kornilov. I forget. They have good faces. Their boots, they tend to be heavy on the bottom side, which means their boots and stuff are thicker. But they're not too bad. Got some guys with body armor. Got a kaross on. Good stuff. Good stuff. Another commissar. Shooting his own people. Gotta shoot your own people after you win the war. Not before. Anyhow, good stuff. Got a guy, ghillie suitish. Excellent figures. Here's another sniper. This guy looks like he's from the Middle East. Fur cap rifleman. No reason your riflemen need to be boring. Give them personalities. You can be stylish and kill fascists. Anyways, good stuff coming up. So, but right now we're just focusing on the vehicles. We are going to do some figures as they work themselves into being vehicle crews. And that's just the Soviets I have. I got a shit ton of Brits. I think all those are all from Combat Miniatures. Because I made lots of packs of Brits. And I got Stalingrad Germans too. So just like as cool as these guys are, the Germans are pretty cool as well. Along with lots of combat Germans. I've painted a fair number of these figures. They just need to be retrofitted. And they all look good except the FAA guys. At the time, that was the only Soviets I had. So I picked them up and then got them. I'm like, well, I guess I'll paint them because my Germans need to fight somebody. But anyhow, hope you enjoyed the little tour that we did there of Soviet figures. because really didn't have time to do much of anything else. Because that's going to be a wrap for this morning. I got a rapid fire game that I'm supposedly going to get into in an hour and a half or so. So I need to get ready for that. We'll see. I hope they got all the right vehicles. We're going to point out all the problems with it. We'll see. It's not like I'm going to stop and play rapid fire with my figures. But I don't mind. Oh, you're going to stay behind? No, you don't need to stay behind. There's no Nazis running around here. Your time is wasted. But anyhow, we will, when we come back to it, we're going to spray this guy and base it accordingly as well. And this thing should be good to go now. But we'll do the grass on it and stuff like that. So plugging along. What we're doing after the armored cars, I'm not really sure. I don't know which rapid fire it is. It's Joel did Germans and British for BEF for 1940, so I'm sure it's something like that. So I just don't like putting World War II figures on multiple figures on a stand. It's just not my thing. World War II figures should all be individually based for anything I want to play. I don't mind playing other people's stuff, but to use my own stuff for a game, yeah, they're all individual guys, so. Yeah, I don't really know what scenario it is. He's got the whole scenario book, and I love those rapid fire books. The books are beautiful, I'm used to 1 to 5 scale. I grew up playing Command Decision, and it's the same scale. So we'll see how that goes. It's D6 in World War II. That's weird. It's weird to use D6 in World War II. I'm a percentile guy. So, anyhow, thanks for stopping by. We will definitely be on tomorrow morning, for sure. And maybe before that, but I wouldn't bet on it. But anyhow, thanks for stopping by as always. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And we'll catch you on